Hello, this is Alan Amsis, Program Director at the College of New Jersey, here to talk to you today about journaling. And even though I can't see you, I think I just heard several of you rolling your eyes. Oh my God, I don't like to journal. I don't like to write. I don't want to journal. What do I write about? It's a pain in the neck. All of that is true to some degree, but hopefully you'll learn to see it as an opportunity, a chance to express some usually unexpressed but very important dimensions of yourself as a teacher. So let's talk about journaling for just a little bit. The first thing is, what is journaling? Well, obviously it's writing in a journal, but it's a tool, and it's a tool for self-discovery. And it's the kind of self-discovery that's really helpful when you're doing first-person research, when you're doing practitioner inquiry, when you're learning to take a stance on your own thought processes as valuable. Journaling can certainly help. It's the easiest form of data to generate. You don't need very much in the way of expensive equipment. You don't need a lot of pre-arranging. You don't need anybody's permission except your own, which I assume you have. So how do you journal is a question. How do you get started? Well, one of the things you might want to do, and it's up to you of course, is actually get a journal. Get a book. I like these composition books. They're my favorite. You can get something very simple. You can get something spiral or a little fancy. Doesn't matter. Probably, most of you will probably journal online. So all you need is a Word file. You don't even need that special pen. But then other questions come up. How do you journal? Do you journal every day? Do you journal at the same time every day? Or some other schedule? Is it random? Do you journal whenever you have the time? And I'll tell you this, you're never going to have the time. You're going to have to make the time. And the time can just be 5 minutes a day. Surely you have 5 minutes a day to devote to documenting something as important as yourself. And you can time your journaling. You can do it by 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day, whatever feels right to you. Some people like to do it by length. I've done journaling for a long time where I've done 3 pages a day. Now that's not my own idea. I got that idea from Julia Cameron, who developed The Artist's Way, which is a way of using journaling to enhance your own personal creativity. My other favorite way is, especially if people say they don't have time to journal, is get yourself a pack of Post-its. These are a teacher's best friend. Put a pack of Post-its on your desk, and every time in the course of one given day, you have an idea or a thought or a question that you want to follow up on or keep track of, jot down a note on a Post-it. It could be 3 words. It could be a question. And slap it on a piece of paper. At the end of the day, put a date on that piece of paper and see how many Post-its you have. Do you have 2? Do you have 10? If you want, you can then do something called stimulated recall, which is looking at all those Post-its and writing a narrative around them. Who were you that day? What was important to you that day? What really challenged you or excited you or confused you or frustrated you? And so that brings us really to the purpose of journaling. It really is, in your transition to become a teacher researcher or to think like a teacher researcher, it really is about chronicling your inner and daily life as a teacher. Again, part of the purpose of classroom-based inquiry is to establish a knowledge-based community among teachers. I often find that when teachers speak to teachers, to other teachers, with other teachers, about their work, about their challenges, that voice speaks louder than almost any other resource for teaching. In this course, you're probably going to read a short piece by Mickey Harris, a woman who kept 20 years of journals of her work as a high school teacher. I will make available to you other resources, and you can find them by yourself. Both of our textbooks for this course have chapters that include a discussion of journaling. So how do we use journal? What is it really, at nuts and bolts, what does it do? Well, the first thing that it can really help with is question development. One of the things that begins the journey of classroom-based teacher research is coming up with a good, authentic question, a question that really springs from your own needs as a teacher. And you would think that might be easy. You would think you know who you are, and you probably do. But journaling is a great way to see what is occupying your mind, sometimes in ways you're not even aware of. It's really a record of what we like to call the phenomenology of teaching, the lived experience of your teaching. What is your lived experience day to day? So it's a mirror, and it's a discovery of self, and it's a great way to keep track of that mysterious trinity that we often talk about in these courses: beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions. Now, you would think you would know what your beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions are, but they're elusive. They're kind of hidden. They're kind of there in the back of our teaching subconscious, based on images of ourselves as a teacher. And how do we get at that? And I can tell you one very quick and easy way to look at that. The way to know what your beliefs, attitudes, and assumptions are is look at where you are willing to stop questioning. Look at the things that you're willing to accept without questioning further. That's your core level of belief, attitude, and assumptions. Journaling is a great and private place to really challenge those assumptions safely, and I would suggest that you do that. Journaling resources are abundant. We live in a journal-palooza society. Part of that is a function of the focus on social emotional learning and mindfulness that we hear around us a lot in the education world. And you can use journaling as a mindfulness tool, but specifically in terms of research, it's really more about keeping track of what your day-to-day questions are. You can go online to Amazon and type in journaling, and you will find dozens of books, and they'll all be helpful, but do you need any of them? Maybe yes, maybe no. That depends on how much inspiration you have for journaling. There are certainly names along the way to know. Julia Cameron has certainly made a career of it. I mentioned her earlier. Parker Palmer is a name that you might want to explore. He has made a lifetime career of looking at what he calls the hidden wholeness inside of teachers, and using reflection and journaling and internal audits to really look at who you are and what you stand for, and what you believe at a foundational level about yourself, about students, and about teaching. There are others: Natalie Goldberg, Alfred Depew, lots of other people. But the thing to think about journaling is, another thing to think about journaling is, what is it good for? Why should I do it? There's a lot of untapped knowledge that gets revealed through journaling. You'll see in Mickey Harris's piece when you read it. And questions to ask are, what do we learn about Mickey Harris when we read it, or anyone? What do we learn about ourselves when we read our own journals? And I do have to tell you, sometimes looking back on your own journals can be a very painful thing. Sometimes we don't realize the kinds of thoughts that have passed through our head. So another question is, what can be told? What kinds of stories can journaling be used for? Well, that's hard to answer at this moment. It's an inner landscape. But the journal that you might create for this course or any part of your teaching life is really a rich mine of data about what you think is important enough to commit to print. So in that sense, it's almost like doing your own sort of dream analysis of who you are. What do you do with a journal? Well, you use it. You use it as a source of information. You use it as a data source. And it's especially good if you're doing a classroom-based study. It's great to tap into the subconscious, to look at what you're taking time to write about, what bothers you the most, what excites you the most, and who you are as a teacher. Who are you when you're at your best as a teacher? Who are the students that you're really good for? And conversely, the shadow side, where are you not such a good teacher yet? Where are you still challenged? Where do you need to go? Who are the students for whom you're not a very good teacher? And here's a great little exercise. I like to call it the Joey exercise. And this is not tied to any existing Joey I've ever known or that you may know. Every teacher I know has had this experience. You drive to work, or you walk to work, or you get to work, however you do on Monday morning, and at about 6:45, when you're pulling into your parking spot or walking into your classroom, you say a tiny little silent prayer to yourself, which is, Dear Lord, whether or not you believe in God is irrelevant. Dear Lord, please just today let Joey be absent. Every teacher's had that experience. Well, what's the problem here? Now, it's possible that this kid is a sadist and his goal every day is to make you cry. But more likely, the problem is that the way he learns doesn't quite match the way you teach. As a professional, our job is to figure out how do we be the best teacher we can be for that student. Journaling can help. That's just one example. But journaling doesn't have to be prompt-driven. You don't have to come up with a concept every day. What do I want to write about? It can just be intuitive. It can just be historic. A record of what you thought, what you felt, what you learned, what frustrated you, what you did. And the last thing I want to say, especially for those of you who think you're journal resistant, I'm going to draw on the old commercial for, I think it was Alka-Seltzer. They had a great tagline. Try it. You'll like it. Thank you.